hours on our star with a major increase in activity at the northern sunspot group. As you saw in the opening, the filaments are active as well, but the big boom center disk is the story. It was an M-class solar flare at the active region we've been monitoring on the north, the big one with company at its northern periphery working its umbral magnetic fields. The core sunspot has an umbra the size of Earth and penumbral extent well beyond that, and we see those arching fields destabilize here due to interaction, and they unleash the solar flare. But of course, the X-ray surge lasted only minutes, while the CME blasted out from the flare region is now on its way to Earth. The widespread plasma push you see with the eruption flash is indeed a full halo CME. We'll freeze the last available frame here in the early morning hours from SOHO, and it is enough to see the full halo. Stereo confirms the expanse and Earth directedness of the CME, and as of 5 a.m. Mountain Time, the Enlil spirals are not updated, but I can promise that in a few hours, they will all show the Earth impact expected Monday or Tuesday. When it arrives, we should expect geomagnetic storm activity at low levels if it impacts during quiet conditions. We do have coronal hole streams on the way out ahead of those, so we could already have unrest when it arrives. Big solar wind watch the next 3 days. 2 key seismic notes up next. We had a big Blot echo beneath Vanuatu this morning, 7-pointer at the transition zone of the mantle. They actually registered another one moments later, but will likely alter that one slightly throughout the day. La Palma also took another magnitude 4 earthquake, that is 2 in the last 3 days, and as we said, magnitude 4 is where we more closely monitor for landslides. We're going out to space next, where so often they show us a photo and say it's galaxies colliding, and we're like, are you sure? This is not one of those times. Unquestionably, these galaxies are on the verge of a major crash. If only you could be there to see the night skies in that system right now. Interesting little story up next about a sloth that did not act like a sloth at all. Not only does this throw a wrench into the archaeological biology paradigm of the taxa, but the species is actually already observer famous. It's one of those large mammals that didn't make it past the last 12,000-year cycle disaster, disappeared at the Gothenburg and Younger Dryas boundary. Speaking of extinction, there had been the thought that the rapid ice age shift 30 million years ago had spared Africa and more thoroughly pounded Europe and Asia. But here, they're finding the evidence that the past disaster did strike Africa as well, and it struck hard. September U.S. climate report is out. Same story once again. The maximum daily highs top right has the most blue. The daily low temps bottom left have the most widespread above average marks. And once again, we mentioned that global warming has over 80% been about the night, with temperatures not quite dipping as low as before, much more so than super heat during the day. Now folks, let me show you why this climate rules update from YouTube isn't going to hit us if Google wants to avoid being hit with a lawsuit. They have 3 things you can't do. You can't call their paradigm a hoax or a scam. You can't deny the planet is warmer now than about 100 to 150 years ago. And here's the kicker. You can't deny that human action contributes to climate change. Contributes. I'd say all of that is about right, considering our only 2 complaints is they give too much attribution to humans and that their future outlook is wrong and dangerously misleading. Here, we get one of the top journals on Earth saying that last thing I just said, along with something you've heard me say a lot before. The climate tipping points that are used to scare people just aren't real. The Earth system has safety mechanisms, like when the melting polar ice triggers cooling events through the ocean. Yes, pollution stinks and we've only got one world environment to live in. No, the study of climate is not a scam. Yes, it is hotter than it was in 1850. Yes, humans contribute to climate change. But the nature of that climate change and the complexity of the Earth systems continues to be elusive. Game 1. Observer.